Hey guys, it's raining here, and I just want to shoot a video because um, this is about interstitial cystitis, prostatitis, both of which I've been diagnosed with, and I felt a little bit upset by some recent, I guess, judgments about me and my condition, and I want to sort of tell my story a little bit more thoroughly here. I don't talk about interstitial cystitis and prostatitis a lot, even though that's how this channel originated, was from that, and also how that caused and continues to be a factor in my mental health problems. But when I first got interstitial cystitis, I didn't know what I had, and I was only 24 years old, and I know I'm a male, and this affects mostly women. So prostatitis, interstitial cystitis, whatever. But all I know is that I had some blood in my urine, and I had the most extreme, excruciating urgency. This is me just waking up one morning out of the blue. I had been graduated college for 2 weeks. It's back in 2008, and I woke up and went to use the restroom. I felt like, my bladder was gonna explode. It's really hard to explain the way it felt, and even talking about it now is it's traumatic for me, and that's why I don't. But I feel like I have to get my story out there, and because I've been bottling it up, and lately I've been judged as sort of, I feel like people don't believe in it. There's a stigma surrounding these conditions for certain people, and anyway, so that feeling didn't go away, and I had this feeling of pressure in my bladder, and if you don't think that's bad, like, it was the worst possible feeling that I could ever imagine feeling, and it wouldn't stop. It hurt. The pressure was so bad, it felt like my bladder was going to explode, and my brain is screaming, go use the bathroom, find a bathroom. But I couldn't, there was no more urine. So you're very confused. You're a 23-year-old guy or girl or whatever, and I'm just like, what is going on? I have no idea. And I go to the emergency room, and I'm there for like 8 hours. They did some tests. They found some blood in my urine, but no STDs, no UTIs, no kidney stones. And I'm sitting there on the bed, like, in shock. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Because you think you're gonna find something with that level of pain. There's something, and you're gonna fix it. And I started to learn a valuable, despairing lesson that day, when I left the emergency room without any hope of what was happening to me. And I got into with the urologist, and I went to see her like that next, like a couple days later, and I was trembling. I hadn't eaten. I couldn't sleep. I was a wreck. I didn't know what was happening. And then I went in to see her, and she did a prostate exam and said that I had a condition called prostatitis. And it was almost July 4th in 2008, and there was a huge trip and graduation celebration kind of thing in the Outer Banks, North Carolina. We were all supposed to go down to. It's like a 7-hour drive. Well, I ended up going down there, and back up. So I went to see the urologist, and I told her, she said, it's going to take you about a month to get better. Here's some antibiotics, which was like Cipro or something. I said, okay. I dropped to my knees and I started crying. And I told her, ma'am, I said, I swear I can't live another minute like this. I cannot live another minute like this. I said, let alone a day or a month. I said, it's agonizing. And she said, I'm so sorry, I know, it's just going to take time to get these antibiotics working in your system. I said, okay. So I left, but I left with a little bit of hope because, okay, number one, they had the condition. Number two, they had a possible, or a treatment. Okay, well, it's going to take a month, but at least I'm going to get better. I called my mom and I was like, I can't go on this trip. She's like, oh, just go, you'll have fun. And I mean, people just did not understand. I mean, good God. If you've ever had to pee so bad you felt like you're going to explode, like you're on a road trip. I try to explain that to people sometimes. Like my wife has been, we've been on a trip or something, and she'll say, oh my God, I got to pee so bad, I got to find a bathroom. Oh my gosh, I got to find a bathroom. And I'm like, okay, imagine holding that. And I don't say that to be mean. I just want because people want to know how it feels. So imagine, like, you never find a bathroom and you just have to hold that forever. That's how it felt. You can't think, you can't focus, you can't pay attention. There's nothing but the pain. And I had other symptoms too, but that was 99% of the problem. At least in the beginning. So from that standpoint, I went to the Outer Banks, and my friend Aaron had to stop every 5 minutes for me to use the bathroom, but I couldn't even use the bathroom because I didn't have any urine. This was a neurological mechanism or something, uroneurological condition in which my nervous system was just misfiring, I guess, the way the doctors described. But anyway, I ended up going. It was absolutely hell. It was miserable. And just 2 weeks prior to that, guys, I could have gotten in a car and drove to Texas on my own. I love to travel. I love to drive. I had a lot of life, and I was so excited to graduate college. I had worked my whole life from 13 years old, put myself through school. I prided myself on my work ethic. That's who I was, and now I'm the shell of a person in a matter of a week or two because of this debilitating disease that was destroying me. And then from there, I ended up getting back, and I think, I started I was scared to travel, scared to go places, but I had to work. I put off work for this new job that I had. It was finally going to make decent money, but I was only having to work. It was like 30 hours a week, like $17 an hour. For me, it was a lot. And I had to drive there, and it was like a 40-minute drive, and I put it off for about, I told her, I said, hey, can I start this date? So I kept putting it off, which made me feel really vulnerable because this was a job that I was really proud to get, and it was a GIS technician. It was doing what I was trained to do in college. This was the start of my life. When I finally started working, I would fake this smile, and I'd get in the Explorer, and I'd go GPS houses, and then I would find a place to lay down in the back of the Explorer and just cry and pray for God to either heal me or kill me. There was only two options: die or get better, because I wasn't going to be like that. The weeks turned into months, and the months just rolled into more months, and I was seeing every urologist there was from Washington, D.C., everywhere. And it didn't matter at that time, and I didn't realize that traveling on the road was can be making it worse. Because it was 24/7, it didn't abate for a second. Not for a second. Did I feel any relief ever? So We tried all kinds of different meds and things, and all the, flow things and prostate meds. And then eventually, and I was waiting for about 6 months or even longer to get in, maybe 8 months to get into a guy who was one of the best urologists, on the East Coast, like at the University of Virginia. And I was like, this guy's gonna have answers. So I was always holding out hope. I mean, in the beginning, you have more hope, but that stuff slowly starts to go away. And I went to see this doctor, and I went in once a week. It was a long drive, and he did prostate milking, in which he would go deep in and literally, and I know this is TMI, I'm sorry, but he would squeeze my prostate very hard, and it was extremely painful. And it would secrete this. He would secrete this thing through my urethra, and then they would test that for bacteria and other things. And what they found was that there was a reaction. There was a lot of white blood cells, I believe, so it's essentially suggesting that there was an infection, but they could not determine. And what their, I guess your prostate was just squeezing my urethra or something so bad because of it being swollen. Even though my BSA wasn't remarkably large, it can get swollen on the inside and then squeeze the urethra. So anyway, so that's what I was, I guess, experiencing partially. So I, after many weeks of treatment and not getting better, I asked him if I could have my bladder removed, or if I could have my prostate removed, bladder removed, penis removed. You think I'm joking? I wanted my penis removed. I didn't care. Here you got a 24-year-old kid, 24-year-old kid, Googling how to paralyze yourself from the waist down. It was either that or kill myself. So he told me to join a support group because that my condition was not curable. It would never get better. He's seen a lot of people like me where they just never get better. And that's when I pretty much lost all hope. And when you lose all hope, and I'm looking for other countries that do these procedures and stuff, and then hold on one second, I'll be right back. I gotta run in and grab something. So anyway, following that, I had lost so much weight. I think I was, when I finally went under 100 pounds, and was extremely thin. I couldn't eat, I couldn't think, couldn't talk about anything other than my condition. So basically no one would even talk to me anymore. People were tired of hearing about it. And at first people were very sympathetic, and but then people get tired of it. So my life was just over. I didn't talk to my girlfriend, didn't care about anything. I mean, you can't. When you're in that level of discomfort and pain, when they ask you how is it 1 to 10 and it's a 50 24/7 and there's nothing nobody can do, I mean, that's hell. There's no other word for it than hell. But anyway, so I ended up finding a doctor in California, and I read his book. And through some modalities and physical therapy and other things, I was able to, believe it or not, after all this, find a remission. And when I say remission, I was probably like 75% free of the issue. It was unbelievable. And because of that, I felt, I was hopeful again. And I got a job with the Army as a civilian, traveled the country, did a lot of flight stuff, flying different military bases, and I felt like somebody again. But then I had another flare, about 7 months later, and when I had the flare, it was like flashbacks, I just completely went back. Mentally, it was just like, oh my God, I thought this was over. I thought this hell was over, and it wasn't. And found another urologist, and I had all these tests, again, done, blah, 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 same thing. I was missing work, and eventually it took a toll on my job, and they forced me to resign. Because I couldn't make my site visits. I couldn't fly. I could barely get out of bed, because it just hurt to even walk. So then eventually, after a few months, it got better. I had another remission. And then, I was looking for a job. Oh, sorry, back up, big important thing. So before that remission, I hung myself, so I couldn't deal with it anymore, the disease and the hell. So I hung myself, and I ended up, my brother found me and got me down probably seconds before I was going to be dead. I was unconscious, and I woke up in a hospital, and then eventually transferred to a mental clinic, and then they let me go after 3 days, and that was hell in there, because I had the pain in there. And the biggest regret I had of that day was that I had survived, and I had to deal with that pain, and I never knew if it was going to go away. I never knew if it was going to stop. Like, oh no, this time it's for good. Anyway, but when you're in that pain, you don't care about money or a job or life or kids or anything but yourself. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. At least for me, in my experience. That level of pain is just ungodly and should never exist. But anyway, so I survived the attempted suicide, and I ended up getting better, into another remission, and then we moved to South Carolina, and that's when I started working for the Air Force as a civilian. And I was very poor, had a poor lifestyle, but I started changing my lifestyle and this and that, and then I had another flare, and I was working through these. I had no option, but sometimes I couldn't. Sometimes you just can't. And I had a flare up, and then I went to see a new urologist. And there's always this hope, right, that you're gonna find this urologist that's gonna like change your life or whatever. And the first urologist I saw at the Sumter Urology he was such an asshole, and then he just told me, oh, well, there's no hope for you. So then I saw a different doctor at the same practice, Dr. Pinto, and he's the one who's very caring and kind, charismatic, and he listened to me, and he told me, you have a condition called Interstitial Cystitis. He said, that's what this is. This isn't, or this is, you might have prostatitis, but you also have this, and this is the main issue that we want to focus on. And so that's when we tried, Elmeron and IC diet and all that stuff, and that stuff didn't seem to do much, if anything. And that, my flares came on and off, but slowly they were just breaking me down. And even he said that, and multiple doctors told me that I wouldn't be able to work. Like, it couldn't continue like that. And obviously my mental health took a huge toll because when you're always in here and in your pain, it's hard to be out here. So I was developing some mental health or mood disorders as a result of the continuing pain that I was dealing with. Also, my ability to travel and be free and do the things I wanted to do were completely diminished. My grandmother was getting old and wasn't going to be around much longer, so I forced myself to go on road trips that would make everything worse, and it was just a mess. So I ended up getting a job, switching for a job that was less sitting down, and took a huge pay cut. I was working there, and I always got my work done. I did good work, but that was at a point where I was having to start lying, and I took advantage of my job because I was able to go home for lunch, and I was really close to home, and sometimes I basically just couldn't work anymore, period. But I had to work, so it's just like I try to make it work, and then they gave me an accommodation to work from home, and then that really helped. When I was able to work from home, like 15 hours a week, and they allowed me to go to physical therapy and all that stuff, because in October of 2015 I had the biggest flare that I had since the original flare, and I knew it was going to be a big one. And I had just got done with a run, and it just was like the first cold day of the year, and I was in Whole Foods, and holy cow, it hit me, and I was just like freak out, flashback, PTSD, like I was like, oh my god. So, and I went to see a urologist in Camden, because I'm always, hoping to find like something better. And that's when they did a hydrodistension, and they found the glomulations, and definitively diagnosed me with interstitial cystitis, and same thing, just as a chronic condition that would never go away, and I was just waiting for it to stop, go in and out, and also in between here I had a lot of pain. There's a lot of other issues. I had pain in my urethral burning, poor urine stream, and the way that this affected me at work a lot was, having to get up sometimes every 2 minutes to go to the bathroom, and then I, practicing the protocol that I had put in place with my doctor at the time was really helping me, and that was physical therapy 3 days a week, seeing a physical therapist, and then doing my own physical therapy using a Therawan every day, multiple times a day, taking hot sitz baths, pelvic floor stretching, pelvic floor stretching, and an array of things. So it took up a lot of time, and my job, they just couldn't tolerate that level of missed work, and tried to work it out, and in the end they start, the harassment started, in which they wanted me to quit, but I'm not going to quit, and I had FMLA protection intermittently, and anyway, they started doing questionable things, and I started recording it, and they were asking me questions about my penis and internal work and what I had to do, and it was was very insulting, and they made me. They told the whole building about my condition, and it was just a daily harassment of my condition, and it was something I had tried to hide for a very long time in my professional life. I didn't want people to know about it because I'd always been such a hard worker, and I had so much to offer the world, but I couldn't because of my situation. And then, anyway, that ended up resulting in a termination eventually, and then I got put on long-term disability and actually got awarded that, and with the support of my doctors and everything. And then just a few days ago, last week, I was denied, and the irony was that they went on my YouTube channel and they used that as a method to disprove that I was sick, and I couldn't be more disgusted, I guess, with that. And because although that I'm in a flare now, I do my routine every day, and there's no job on planet Earth that's gonna hire me if I'm truthful with them about my restrictions. And I can have a few weeks or a month where I'm like virtually pain-free, but we know now that it's permanent, lifelong, and that when I get a flare, I can't be anywhere. And if I could get a flare anytime, it could be at 12 o'clock today, that means I have to leave right away, get home, get in the bath, do my stuff, set up the appointments with the PTs, and I have to just go into a mode of trying to prevent this thing from getting bigger, because if you don't prevent it from getting bigger when it starts, then it's bad. So to just apply for a new job and be able to get one and have them support you, this would never happen. So I've had interviews and I've told them about my condition and things, and they're like, that's just not something we're going to be able to condone. And I get it. I realize that I can't effectively do my job, so I work from home now, trying to do a startup. I'm not getting paid or anything, but because being labeled disabled is not something I want to live with, and I can do things from home, and that's what I'm working on. But I was denied my disability, and it's a tragedy that they used this forum, which I use to try to help people and give them hope. It's a condition that you can feel amazing one week and disaster one week, amazing for 2 months, and then have 3 months of hell. You could feel, you could be in remission. It's an autoimmune disease, as far as the doctors have told me. I'm always going to have it, but at least I have good days. And back in the first year or two where I was in hell, I prayed for just 20 minutes of relief, and I get that now. But it takes a lot of effort and a lot of preventative practices in order to get to that, and it takes a lot of mental fortitude and mental energy to deal with the pain and stuff like that. So my life does surround this condition, and I was grateful that I had paid insurance through my job, and they were covering my expenses through my long-term disability. But they misconstrued my social media as that I was, I think, faking it, and I couldn't be more appalled, shocked, and upset that they could take something I do to try to help people and make it a tool to destroy my family. So I am fighting it, but I just wanted to put this out there on the record that just because I have videos and I'm driving for 20 minutes, that doesn't mean that my condition is cured. And it's something I fight with and live with every day. And also, when I post things on Facebook and stuff like that, I have to look the part. for my startup, I have to, I fabricate things all the time. Going places, bike rides, things like that, things I'll show from years ago. And I never thought that would come back to bite me in the ass like it did. But yeah, I post things, I try to do things, and my doctors encouraged me to have a quality of life. If not, I would kill myself. I have to try to get out when I'm having a good day. I have to try to go places and do things, because even psychologically, the impacts have been tremendous. So the combination is awful, and my wife is my savior, and that she's stuck beside me this whole time where I would be dead. But I'm just saying that I do try to get out when I feel well and do things. A lot of times I'm in pain, sometimes it's not as bad. But anyways, it's a lot of information, but I just wanted to share that story because I've been really frustrated and upset. You know what? I'll make it. Through the grace of God will protect me, and I'll find a way out of this. But I just wanted to share the story. So thanks for listening. Bye.